Welcome to Super Talk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. All right, Professor, I think I'm ready. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's roll. In 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 98. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. He survived the debauchery in Key West. He's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a blast. It was like being on Fantasy Island. We even had our own tattoo. So it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Had your own tattoo.
Yeah, one
That's
of my fraternity
fantastic.
brothers put. He's like 4'2".
Yeah.
Vietnamese.
Vertically challenged.
Yeah. Great guy. Love him to death.
Yeah.
Very fun. Hard charger. Wooden leg. Just couldn't drink anybody under the table, but...
Well, you got to spend some quality time with our friends down at Studio G over the weekend, right?
Yeah, the GOAT put on a live show down there in one of the bars during some day drinking.
I heard they didn't want him to go back. They were like, can you just stay and be like in-house entertainment?
He booked 2 more, he booked 2 more bars while he was there.
Good for GOAT. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm glad you got to see your boys. I think, my son is and your son is in the midst of that right now, making lifelong friends in a fraternity at college. And you really do forget, some of the close friendships you had back then until you kind of get to spend a couple of days with people you haven't seen in 20 years. And all of a sudden it's like, you're back at college. You're like you're back
in a 50-something-year-old body,
right,
which is tough.
Right.
So.
Well, you're a little bit more seasoned now, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as much stamina, but you've got the...
We gave it the old college try, and I know where that phrase comes from now. There's no way you can go as hard as we did in college, but I'll be damned if some of us didn't try. But great group of guys, 28 fraternity brothers, all got together down in Key West, and it was special.
And you have a special person to thank for all
Absolutely special. Yeah, Scott LaRosa, a buddy of mine, he kind of put the whole thing together. God bless him. We're blessed to know him. All of us are, and it was really great to see and catch up with a lot of boys down there. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, that's
Love
great.
Key West. What a gem!
I know. You and I got to spend some time there last year for another friend of ours had her 50th birthday. Kelly had her 50th birthday there, and we got to spend some quality time down there. It is one of those places that if you can't have fun in Key West, like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, something's wrong with you.
Yeah, like really.
Curmudgeon. You're grumpy. You're a curmudgeon. You need to probably take some Xanax or an edible or something.
And there's plenty of it down there too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no lack of that stuff down there.
Good times though. Blast.
Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you made it back.
Hey,
safely.
episode 98 we're on. 98. Big 100 episode coming up at Guapo's the day after Christmas, December 26th at 1 o'clock. Come join us for a margarita. Come join us for some chips and salsa, and enjoy the episode. 100th episode. What a milestone for us.
Hard to believe.
Brother, I mean, congratulations.
Congrats,
this has been
man.
An absolute blast. 2 years of an absolute great fun time.
And we've always said, Titanium, if this wasn't fun or we stopped having fun doing it, we just stop. I mean, why keep doing it? But
people were asking me, it was like, is that your job? I said, no, but I wish it was. I really do.
Seriously.
I wish I could do it full time, because I'd really like to dedicate full time to this. It's an absolute hobby. It's cost us more money than we've made for sure, but it's so much fun, and it centers me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It centers me.
Well, it's for me, it's a way to really kind of recap the week with a good friend of mine who has the same interests as me, and like we've always said, you and I'd be talking about this stuff anyway.
We would,
and we're just doing it on microphones and in front of a camera and sharing it with everybody. So, two more for 100th. So please join us on the 26th of December, day after Christmas. Look, it's a holiday. You got nothing better to do. Come down to Guapo's in Fair Lakes, 1 p.m. Margarita's on Titanium. We're going to have a good time down there. So please join us. And as a matter of fact, I've heard multitudes of people come up to me and say, I'm going to be there. So I can't wait.
It's going to be a crowd.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous. I got to talk to Raul and make sure he's
We might have to look at the capacity limits at Guapos and make sure we don't go over.
Well, we might have to open up the outside.
Well, then we were hoping for mild weather, right? Because people be freezing.
It could be.
All right, well let's get going, and we want to thank the listeners that bring the show to you, the patrons, Patreon.com. Those are the people who are helping you listen to this show. You know, it is the holiday season, and if you're in the giving mood, you can give directly to Super Talk. Become a patron. All you have to do is donate $1 every time we come out with one of these silly episodes, and you're helping the show out directly. So become a patron. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you become a member. And we'd love you to spread some holiday cheer that way, for sure. All right, well, let's jump into the review section. Got a lot to talk about, a lot of cool announcements, a lot of cool stuff that happened this weekend or this past week. We do want to talk about Titans Episode 5. I just got a chance to watch it last night for the first time. I was a little behind, but a little different. I'd like to get your opinion on this episode because I had a different experience than I think you did. So you tell me what you thought.
I told you. I said I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was a good episode. Very interesting. Obviously, they're moving towards Brother Blood and making him the big bad in this. A couple of different.
Did any
twists.
part of you think that he wasn't going to fulfill his destiny and become Brother Blood?
No.
They're going to save him and rescue him, and this is just not going to happen.
I knew at some point, but it was interesting to see how he sacrificed himself and said, "No, don't hurt my friends. I'll go with you." And then once he got there and started realizing what they expect of him and what Brother Blood, the power that Brother Blood could have, I think he started being like, all right, now I'm kind of getting into this. Now maybe I am supposed to fulfill this destiny. So I thought it was interesting. I thought the whole Superboy arc was, I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I thought it was good. It wasn't my favorite episode.
So the Connor thing kind of threw me a little bit. So what happened in the episode?
He's like feeling his inner Luther, right?
Right, that's what happened. Is after his little bout with the serpent, and Garfield, basically saving him by killing the serpent in his body. He woke up the next morning and he's like, screw this, and he shaves his head with his own heat vision, which was in a mirror. He kind of like held a mirror up and shaved his own head. And then it seemed like the Lex Luthor, so Connor Kent, Superboy, is a genetic creation. He's a splicing of the DNA of Superman and Lex Luthor. Mm-hmm. And he's always kind of been more Superman than Lex Luthor. Well, it seems like the Lex Luthor part of his personality came to the forefront this episode and kind of took over.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting departure for the character. But in the same way, you kind of saw some of the parts of Lex Luthor that are valuable to Connor Kent.
Right.
He's a scientific, brilliant person. And he came up with this whole plot to, hey, the only reason they can do this whole ritual is because of the blood moon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to retask all the satellites from Star Labs and have them shine sunlight on the moon, and therefore it won't be a red moon anymore, and they can't do the ritual.
Right.
And they were like, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I think we could
Brilliant.
make that happen.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, but he definitely became a little more crass, a little bit more rude, a little bit more dismissive.
Oh, when he called out all the members of the Titans,
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's bold.
Well, and I think he's feeling a little bit vulnerable after what happened to him. Look, he got stabbed. He ended up becoming like the weak link in the team, and basically was the reason why Sebastian had got kidnapped in the first place. And he felt really guilty about it. He's like, this is never going to happen again. And what? It did happen again.
Yeah.
He thought he could solve this problem on his own. But there was, some of the things just didn't sit well with me. Like the team is coming up with a plot to bring Sebastian back, and they're going to use teleportation. So all of a sudden, teleportation is a thing. It's like, oh, well, and Jinx was trying to explain, well, magicians have been doing it for a long time, but it's really a scientific method, and you just kind of need to know where they're going to reconstitute, and if there was a computer that could figure it out, we could get them back into the room, and they're like, oh, this is a great idea. It just was like a little squirrely.
Yeah.
And then they found out that Connor got kidnapped. which was interesting. How Superboy gets kidnapped and subdued. And I guess magic is Superman's weakness. It's also Connor's weakness, obviously. So we got a little bit of that. But the ending was just, again, I think a little anticlimactic. We kind of knew where this was going, right? I mean, we knew what was going to happen. The big surprise to me was Jinx getting
stabbed.
I don't think she's dead.
No.
She said, "Oh no, not again."
Right.
So this has happened to her before. She's died before and had to come back before. But the interesting thing was at the end of the episode, he drinks the vial of blood and lets out this enormous sonic scream that basically makes everybody disappear.
Yeah, that was weird.
Except for Mother Mayhem, of course.
Right.
She's still around.
Yeah.
But where did they go? What happened to him? All this other stuff. And then he obviously goes into the pool of blood and is going to turn into
They break the stone that was holding Raven's power, and seemingly she gets something back. She's still now this white.
Instead of
her dark.
She got her crystal back in her head.
She got her crystal back in her head, but she's still whited out. I mean, it's just weird.
Very comic book accurate. Happened in the comics. She became so Azarath was a society of witches who kind of were for the good, and her mother, that's where she was from. She ended up getting caught up in the whole Trigon situation, but this whole group of witches that were part of the Azarath wore white, and that's kind of how this probably. So again, something that happened in the comic book. So we'll see where they're going.
Kind of cool
with this.
twist, yeah. I'm excited to see.
And the whole thing with Garfield is weird. Like he's now being spoken to by his ancestors or something, or like come speaking to him, and they were saying
Cherokee tribe or
when you see the tower break, run to the red, and I don't know what this all means. I don't know. It's weird. There's a lot of unknown. So I think this was absolutely a setup episode to set up. We are going to get Brother Blood. He is going to come back. Or he is going to be created. Obviously, this is what's going to happen. The team is somewhere. Somebody or something is going to have to get them out from where they are. And
Jinx is going to have to be resurrected.
Right.
A lot of things. And Tim Drake still only has a bow staff.
But he has a boyfriend.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that was great. Again, we'll see what the next one's like, and I am enjoying this season. I can't wait to watch it every week. So we'll kind of go with the next one. All right. Let's jump into some news, some interesting items. So, got a new trailer from Amazon Prime yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. They've been working on a
spinoff.
Yep. For the boys called Gen V.
Yeah.
And it is. I love what Amazon Prime's doing. It's fantastic. It is such like a ripoff of a lot of Marvel.
Of course.
Like
X-Men. This reminds me of the X-Men.
New Mutants, the School for Gifted Youngsters, the Gen V basically is this. So we found out in last season of The Boys that the who was the woman who could blow up people's heads? I can't remember her name.
The senator now.
Yeah. She's a senator now, going to be part of the presidential campaign. She had lived in this facility when she was younger, and then that's when Stan Edgar kind of basically recruited her and ended up raising her as his own and all this other stuff, but that's where she was. So we're going to get into this School for Gifted Youngsters. These are young individuals who've been given Compound V and they're developing their powers, and it looks like, or it sounds like, they're basically being told to fight to the death and the survival of the fittest in this place, and if you can off one of your fellow classmates, all better for it. How much blood and gore was
pretty bloody,
in the trailer.
I mean, at one point a janitor is scooping up human parts and stuff in a pool of blood and putting it into a bucket.
The one girl had like her dreads went off and like grabbed somebody from the back of the head, just like split their head apart and everything.
It's going to be this show's going to be very interesting. I like the whole academy, school academy type vibe to this. A lot of younger unknown actors are in this.
But there were some cameos from some of the boys actors and actresses as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Not A-Train was a cameo in this. We saw him for a few seconds, and a lot of the people that worked for Vought, right?
Yeah.
We're in this as well. So it'll be interesting. I mean, give me more boys. Give me more spin-offs.
Look.
This is just
it's
for me.
It's a home run.
It's a home run. This is just as good as the Spider-Verse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a home run. I mean, The Boys has been a home run on Amazon Prime. Everybody's like loved it. And why not do a spinoff? Because it's just more properties for them to now promote. And you know what? It's probably going to be until next July, August, until the next season of The Boys. So why not drop something on us? We don't have a date for this yet, but we do know 2023. 2023. Yeah. So my gut tells me this is going to be like a late winter, early spring thing, maybe a February, March timeframe. We're going to get this, and then The Boys will drop sometime in the summer. Cool. So it'll be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
we'll cover the shit out of it, too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, this is the more comic book media that's given to us, the more we have to review. Absolutely. So we're going to love it. Boy, lots of rumors floating around the internet about this one. So you and I talked about this probably 3-4 weeks ago. We knew that actor Jackson Harper was rumored to be in an undisclosed role in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And we were kind of talking about what the role could be, and you know, we knew who the actor was, and we were like, well, who could this person be playing? Well, he's now officially been announced as part of the cast. He's on all the posters, on the promotional material. His name is there, but they still haven't released what role he's playing. And there's so many rumors out there now that he may be playing Quasar. We may be seeing the new Quasar in the MCU coming in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Lots of cool, and look, there's no confirmation of this. This is all
rumor, conjecture.
It's people just thinking this is what could happen or might happen. You and I surmised earlier that we felt, based on how young this actor was, and a potential role they could be playing would be a young Kang the Conqueror.
Correct.
Or a young Nathaniel Richards before he became Kang the Conqueror.
You talked about that, yes.
I still think there's a high probability that's who he's playing.
I agree with you.
But the fact that Quasar could be introduced in the MCU has now thrown everybody
and leading
into
a rebellion against Kang
as Quasar.
As Quasar is it's believable and it's doable. But yeah, it's exciting. I love these little rumors and things.
And look, there's a lot of, and again, this is just fan theory out there, so we'll just tell it what it is. There's a lot of fan theory that there's a tie between the 10 rings of Shang-Chi and the Quantum Realm and Kang, and that, you remember when at the end of Shang-Chi, when Wong was or looking at the rings, and there's something in there that's giving off a little bit of a signal.
Beacon. It's a beacon. Yeah.
There's a lot of thinking out there that it was Kang that's trying to find these 10 rings because those 10 rings are his, or they came from the Quantum Realm.
Yeah.
There's also rumor that maybe the bangle that Ms. Marvel wore was actually a quantum band that Quasar wears, and he has one, and the reason why he's stuck in the Quantum Realm is because he's trying to find the other one, which just happens to be with Ms. Marvel. So there's a lot, and again, this is all fan theory and just people. And we've seen what happens with this stuff before. People are trying to make it out to be something more than it is. But let's just wait and see. This movie will be here before we know it. February, it'll be great. So, yeah, we can't wait.
Awesome.
Yeah. This one, when you sent it to me, I can't tell you how excited I am for this. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago as well. DC is moving forward with the Blue Beetle project. And originally we thought that this was potentially going to be a series on HBO Max. It is now confirmed for the theaters. It says in theaters only. They've released a movie poster. Blue Beetle in theaters only 2023. So this is coming to the theaters next year.
Yeah, James Gunn actually put it on his social media account. So.
Do we have a date for this yet?
2023 August, I want to say. But I'm not sure. I don't know.
I can't wait.
Oh!
The costume looks... The pictures we've gotten of the costume from the set are
comic book accurate as shit,
and they're awesome. And there's some CGI going to be added to what we've already seen.
Unbelievable! Right. It's going to be sick. I mean, the poster itself got me fired up. It was so stylized and so cool. That Beetle with integrated with this technology. It almost looked like like a motherboard. The Beetle almost looked like a mother. It was so cool. And there's this Brazilian actress that's attached to this project.
Is she a smoke show?
She's more than a smoke show. She is absolute. It's like she's straight out of a fantasy or something. It's unbelievable. I want to say her name is Bruna Marquez or something. She's a Brazilian actress. The Brazilian soccer player. She's been attached to him.
Neymar.
I get them mixed up. Neymar. Yes, she dated him for a little bit, but you got to look her up. She is a smoke show. I mean, this girl is crazy good looking. So, I love you, honey. My wife is out there. But
well, I can't wait for this. I mean, again, Blue Beetle is a great character, great backstory, great set of powers. I think they have a lot to explore here. Probably going to do an origin story, but
love an origin story from this. That would be
right because I think this is a character because he's a B-list, C-list character. You kind of have to do a little bit of an origin story to introduce who is this character,
Yeah.
how does the Scarab become part of him, what are his powers. I think that's great, but it's just such a rich and deep character and just very cool.
Huge
and how
cast of Latin and Latina actors.
Which is one of the reasons why I think they did this character.
Huge.
Right?
I think it's great. I think it's going to be great.
And just the conflict he's always having with the Scarab.
Yeah.
Very similar to what Cyborg's been going through with the mother box that he was integrated with, of like the Scarab's always out to defend him, but he doesn't need to be defended all the time. Stop it! I don't want to shoot my friends.
Right.
It's always really cool. So I can't wait for this. I'm looking forward to this movie very much. And hopefully we'll get a trailer sometime in the next few months. So
now it's funny because Black Adam was supposed to save DC and come in and swoop in and be this all over fantastic, brilliant film. And wouldn't it be funny if this was
ended up being?
Wouldn't it be unbelievable if this was more popular and did better than Black Adam did? I'm hoping it does.
I can't remember. Do we have a new date for Aquaman yet? I can't remember.
Next December?
Is it that far away? A full year?
They pushed it back a whole year.
Right.
I know they're doing massive reshoots.
So we got Shazam, Fury of the Gods is now coming out early in the year.
Yeah.
Right? They pushed that that was supposed to be coming out around Christmas time. They pushed it to early in the year. And Aquaman was supposed to come out in the same date that they got pushed to, and that got pushed back a lot, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to come out after this.
I think so.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. I can't remember even if we had any confirmation of that. And again, James Gunn's in charge. He's going to get things straight. I totally trust what he's doing. He'll figure it all out.
Not only get things straight, but he has a great storytelling mind. And I think that's the best. We've always said this. That was the downfall of Black Adam. The story was weak. They based their story around The Rock and tried to make him more of a hero and likable character. And Black Adam is not likable. They should have done what they did with Namor in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and make him a true anti-hero, somewhat of a very complex villain. And they didn't do that. And I think the story was very weak on that. And even though I liked the fight scenes, the action scene was amazing. I really liked the Justice Society. I thought that was great. Dr. Fate, brilliant. But the story was weak, and that was my biggest problem with that movie. So I'm hoping that moving forward, James Gunn interjects things that are like, hey, no, that's not a good story. That is panhandling to the pocketbook. You're basically turning this movie into a giant ATM machine trying to get money, right. And it's not going to work that way. We're going to go for story and quality. Speaking of that, your next
yeah. So there's been a lot of rumor and conjecture out there as well around, since Bob Iger's taken back over at Disney, there may be a little bit of a shakeup in the Marvel Phase 5 and Phase 6 schedule. A couple of things kind of leading to this. Number one, I think Kevin Feige came out and really kind of was very honest about his thoughts of how Phase 4 went. And he wasn't very happy with it. I don't think happy with the results, box office results for some of the movies that came out during Phase 4. But also, I think there's this thought process out there that maybe they oversaturated the market. Maybe they've released a lot of movies in a very short period of time. Over 5 years, they released a ton of movies.
Yeah.
And now they're saturating it with Disney Plus programming as well. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're oversaturating and people aren't as excited anymore. My feeling is you can give us as many projects as you want. Just make them good.
Yeah.
I think they got away from the formula which made them successful. Great actors and actresses, great stories, great special effects. And I think one thing has been missing in almost every movie that's come out in all of Phase 4. I think there's been something missing of all of those. We didn't get that before.
Right.
Like Endgame prior, you had most of those were part of the concept.
Yeah.
And then since, it's been a little squirrely.
Well, a couple of problems that I have, and I agree with you, Professor, getting away from the stories that have been decades, generations, have followed these comic book stories and fallen in love with these stories and have followed them since they were children. And their children's children are reading these comic books now. And these stories are time-tested and proven. To get so far away from the comic books and trying to change these stories, either to modernize them or to fit some agenda or whatever it may be, I think that's a big issue, and I think that's a problem. And from what I hear they might pull back and do 2 or 3 movies instead of 4 a year to get more quality instead of quantity. I also hear that they're also cutting a lot of Disney Plus stuff. They're going to go for more of a special presentation format instead of the 6, 7, 12 episodes. Now, I haven't heard anything about Daredevil. That I don't think has changed, but I would not be surprised if they shortened those. If instead of 18 episodes, they moved it to 12. I'm just saying.
We've already heard that that's what they're doing with Echo. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Echo was originally going to be a 6 to 8 episode series. We hear they're shortening it to like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense, right? But they
Well,
haven't.
if it doesn't get cut, if it even makes it to the
Really?
screen, yeah.
Because that's been in the can for a while. So for
It's
them,
absolutely already in the can, but that's in jeopardy. Very similar to what they did with Secret Wars. They were like, all right, this can't be an episode. This can't be like 6 or 9 episodes. They moved it to a feature film.
you mean
That
Armor Wars?
Armor Wars. That is in jeopardy. They're thinking about cutting that completely
Really?
now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you think about all the projects they announced. The Nova project, the Agatha House of Harkness.
Yes.
So there's all these projects that they have in Wonder Man. They have them already announced, and yet we still don't know much about them. Are they going to be series? Are they going to be special presentations? Are they going to be feature films? Right. So we talked about Armor Wars was originally going to be a Disney Plus project. Well, now they said they're going to put it on the big screen. Now they're saying, well, we might cut it all together.
Cut it all together. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of changes, and we know one of the big changes we're anticipating. So we know we're getting 3 movies already in 2023. That's already happening. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, followed by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which we'll talk about here shortly, followed by the Marvels in the summer, and then we have nothing on the schedule until the next spring.
Yeah.
And there's a huge gap. So we're going from July to May before we get the next Marvel project.
And the more and more I ponder this and think about it, I think that's a good thing.
It might not, again, I'd rather them focus on quality than quantity for sure.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's driving some of this now too is we hear, and again, so one of the big announcements from the past week was, Sony was supposed to be at DXXP, which
It
was
pulled out, yeah. You sent me that over the weekend. I was
or
shocked.
CXXP, which is the Brazilian Comic Con. That's where we got a lot of what we're talking about this week was at CXXP. Sony's supposed to be there, and they made some big promises. They said, we're going to be there. We've got some big announcements. We've got some super surprises to bring the audience. And then they pulled out like 2 weeks earlier, and people were like, what the heck's going on? Again, one of the things we're hearing now is that Spider-Man 4 is going to be announced shortly. We talked about the new Tom Holland contract, and we know that they're making Spider-Man 4. We hear the date is going to be announced shortly, and the date they're throwing out is a July 2024 date, which is the date that Thunderbolts is supposed to drop in the theaters. So now we're hearing that everything on the schedule for Marvel is going to be pushed back another date to make room for Spider-Man 4.
Interesting.
So that wouldn't disappoint me necessarily, because at least we're getting something in that date. We're getting a Spider-Man movie, and hopefully a great one. But that's going to push that Marvel schedule back a little further. We already know about the big delays for Blade. We already know about some of the other delays for Deadpool and some other projects they're working on. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised if some changes are afoot, and I just don't want to go with these massive gaps of no content, right?
Yeah.
I think, to your point, they need to focus on quality, not quantity. I get it. But jealously,
of course,
from a podcast perspective, if we go from July next year until May the following year with no Marvel movies to talk about, that's going to be a big dry spell for big projects.
I still think we'll have plenty of content with The Boys, a lot of other things, Disney Plus, those series coming out, as well as what DC has. I think James Gunn's going to lay out quite a schedule for DC.
They got to keep that train moving because people are going to start losing interest if they don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We already know about the big delays for Aquaman. We know about the big delays for the Flash movie. There's huge delays across the board for them. And again, I think they needed to hit the reset button in a lot of ways, and hopefully they are. And we'll figure that one out too.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to our topic of the week, and it's brought to us by our friends that just spent a drunken weekend with Titanium in Key West. Studio GG Studios, home of the main band Corn on the Cob.
Yes, sir.
Goat, we hope you made it back to South Carolina, we'll say safely. I know not in one piece because that's impossible, but we got some video of you singing down there, so it's already on the internet. It's posted to some page somewhere, I'm sure.
He jumped in... the GOAT, lead singer of Corn on the Cob, jumped in with a band down there at Captain Tony's in Key West and laid out a couple of good tunes. People loved it. I think the tip jar has never been fuller for that guy. So.
That's great. Yeah. All right, GOAT. Well, let's get into the top of the week, and that's our review of a special trailer we just got this past week from CXXP. The new trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 dropped this past week. I know Titanium was about 6 hours behind the trailer dropping, but eventually he did, probably with one eye open, get to watch it, and he probably had to watch it a couple of other times.
I watched it a couple of times, to be honest. Yeah, I had to watch it a couple of times. But let's talk about the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room, shall we?
Go ahead.
Who's going to die?
Yeah, I think this. There's definitely a very dark.
I think there's misdirection in the trailer. Absolutely misdirection, as far as I'm concerned. Titanium's prediction, but I want to hear what the professor has to say.
Well, let's talk about the trailer itself first.
Okay.
First and foremost, one of the things that James Gunn is brilliant at is underlining all of his films with music and a theme to them, like a musical theme to them. We got a lot of iconic 70s, late 70s, early 80s music from his first two movies, and they start this trailer off with a song that I remember very fondly, In the Meantime, by Space Hog, which is just a great song.
It's a 90s song.
It's a 90s song, so maybe they're moving forward in some of the music genre here, more of a 90s theme to the music. But great soundtrack. Yeah. Great song to back this trailer. I thought that was just awesome choice.
Yondu did give him a Zoom with 3,000 songs.
That's right. So, he did spend some time on Earth as well. So, it's not like he's a stranger to the planet. Right. He was there for the Endgame battle, right? So we know he's been there. But that being said, some of the things that they show in this trailer we anticipated seeing. We know the High Evolutionary was going to be part of this. He showed, we saw him at Comic-Con. We know that this is going to be part of the theme there. We do get some confirmation that Rocket, Raccoon,
get a little origin story.
The backstory to Rocket is going to be tied to the High Evolutionary. We saw Rocket as an actual raccoon, and then we see kind of superimposed onto his current face, so we know that that's where he came from.
Yeah.
Looks like he has a girlfriend that happens to be a ferret or something, and that was kind of interesting.
That's an otter.
An otter, yeah, there you go.
She's an otter. Layla, that's from the comics.
Yeah.
His soulmate from the comics, right?
So we get to see Layla, which is great. We see the Guardians show up landing in what seems to be like a small, kind of quiet town.
Yeah,
and it looks like they're flying into New York City, but if you look at the city itself when they're flying in, it's not New York City.
And that's not the Statue of Liberty.
Right. So we know that this is someplace that's been made to look like New York City. Yeah. So they land in this city.
What's it called? Other Earth? Other World?
Other World or
Other World or something like that.
Yeah. So, but the High Evolutionary is known for experimenting on animals, and he creates his own we'll say genetic enhanced animals or evolved. He evolved animals to become sentient, and they're called the New Men. So they land in this little town, and you can tell they're all based on animals, and they've been evolved into kind of humanoid form.
Yeah.
And that's a hilarious scene, by the way. Just the interaction between the Guardians and them is awesome. So we know that the New Men are going to be part of this. We know the High Evolutionary is going to be part of this. There are a ton of scenes of the Guardians getting beat down and whipped and, just crushed.
We got a shot for the first time of Adam Warlock. Which is really cool. Beating Nebula.
Well, I think that was a little bit of
misleading,
a misdirect, because you see him kind of fly down and throw a punch, and then they show her getting punched, and I don't think it was necessarily by him.
Okay.
So again, I think that this is some of the misdirection from the trailer.
Because if you watch the trailer, you would think
he was the one that hit her.
He was the one that hit her. And when Rocket's giving his speech, like, we'll ride again off to the sunset in our ship or whatever, it looks like he's dying. But if you look closely, that's like a younger raccoon that's talking. So I think it's when he's being made over and he's talking to Layla, something to that effect. I don't think it's him.
I have a hard time believing this. I mean, we've been told this is the last movie with this version of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And we know people are going to die. Multiple Guardians are going to pass.
Yeah, so I think that we're going to see a transition of the team and a new evolution of the team. Here's who I think is safe.
Okay.
I think Groot is safe.
Agree.
I think Groot's not going anywhere.
Agree.
I think Peter Quill, Namora... we know why Namora's probably leaving. She's got like
Gamora.
Gamora.
Yeah.
She's got like 8 Avatar movies to make over the next couple of years. So I think Gamora's gone. I think
Peter Quill is safe.
I think he's safe, but I don't think he stays with the team. I think he leaves.
I think he does too. I think he loses so much that he leaves the team.
Nebula, I don't know.
She's 50-50 on my book.
I think Mantis stays.
Mantis stays.
I think Drax may be done.
Drax is absolutely done. Yeah. I think it's Drax, Gamora, Rocket, maybe, and I think Nebula. So I think those definitely, because there's one scene when he's absolutely losing it, and he's like, no, like you could see he's at a table.
It looks like he's being experimented on or something.
Well, I think Star-Lord is expressing, and then cut to Mantis, she's crying too, and Star-Lord's seeing one of his loved ones die, and I think that's Gamora. I think Gamora's gone. I think Drax is absolutely gone, because Dave Bautista has said that it's been a great run, but I'm moving on. I'm doing other things, blah, 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 which tells me to believe that he's being killed out. I think a few of them go. And I think to pull the heartstrings, I think Rocket will go as well.
Yeah.
I think they'll pull Rocket just to pull the heartstrings. Because that would be, a lot of people love that character. It'd be like killing Groot, which they're not going to do again because I already did it.
Right.
So, we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a great trailer.
Really good.
The special effects look fantastic. The team back together again is great. We see a lot of scenes with Gamora and the team together. We see her by herself in a Ravager's uniform, so I believe she's now in charge of the Ravagers. She's taking over for Yondu and now running the Ravagers. But we also see her with the team in some prison outfits or prison garb or something. So like they're escaping another
High Evolutionary at his fortress or something.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with all that. But I think it's quite obvious. Gamora finally realizes she does love Star-Lord, even though it's the new Gamora who's the old Gamora. But they finally give it, and then she ends up dying. It's going to be a tragic film. I think it's going to be very good. I'm really looking forward to this. James Gunn just has this formula with this team. I mean, he knows how to put the right people together. I mean, we talked about this last week. We reviewed the holiday special. It was just, he knows how to get the most out of these actors' personalities. He just does.
Yeah, and the story that he tells is compelling, and and emotional, and it makes sense, and it follows that comic book kind of pattern and tempo. And
so the big questions are: where does Adam Warlock come from? How does he get there? How does he become involved?
Right.
Was this was he being sent there by the what's the team of the gold people that was in Guardians 2? I'll think of it here in a second. But is he sent there from them?
Well, he was built to destroy them, so
right.
I'm sure that's what it is. He's on a mission to kill the Guardians.
Right. But I think he becomes the new leader of the Guardians. Don't
so.
We all think that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have the Mind Stone, but he has some kind of gem in his...
some stone of some sort
some
in his,
kind
in
of
his
power
forehead.
stone or something.
Well, he had the soul gem in the comics.
Right.
The soul gem. So, yeah, I think they've said that he doesn't have the soul gem anymore.
It
but
would be kind of impossible to soul gem.
Yeah, since Thanos atomized them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so great trailer. I really enjoyed it. Love this team, love these actors. I think other than the real brief moments they had in Thor: Love and Thunder, which I think were just kind of like story filler.
Yeah.
They've been great in everything they've done, so I'm really looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good movie. I'm looking forward to it too. Well, great. Thank you, Professor. Great show. Nice breakdown. School's over.
All right, let's ring the bell. That's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. Until then, you can get in touch with us on social media. Hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out. Okie dokie. Thanks, YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification button, too, if you don't mind. Appreciate it.